Now, as MPT's HBCU Week approaches, we're joined by David Wilson, the president of Morgan State University. Dr. Wilson, thank you for being with us.
Jeff, as always, it's a pleasure to be with you and look forward to the conversation tonight.
A lot of things to talk about, but it can all be summed up, I understand, in the phrase Morgan momentum. What is that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, MOMO, as we call it, Morgan momentum. Well, we are in an immense period of transformation here at Morgan. And that is really in so many different circles, so to speak. But first of all, with regard to the growth of the institution enrollment-wise, we now are in the neighborhood of 9,000 students at the university. We have never, ever had that many students in the 155-year history of the institution. For the last 2 years, our freshman class has been historic in terms of enrollment. We enrolled nearly 2,500 new freshmen last year. We expect to be in that same range this year. And that was about a 60% increase over the number of freshmen that we typically enrolled at the university each year. And so we are very, very pleased with what we're seeing at Morgan. The 2,003 to 600 new freshmen we are expecting this year for the very first time, more of them will be out of state than in state. 55% of them are out of state who are coming to Morgan, representing 38 states in about 70 countries. And so the Morgan name is stretching all over the nation and indeed all over the world. We also are going through a period where we have to construct on this campus new residential facilities because the last residential hall that we built here was 35 years ago. And so with this growing desire to be a part of the Morgan experience, is also coming a desire to live on campus on the part of students. And so, Jeff, we are very pleased that we opened this past weekend a 670-bed residential facility, Thurgood Marshall Hall, named after noted Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall. And we are moving forward now to build another 600-plus bed unit that will open in the fall of 2024.
It's a beautiful building.
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, Professor Larry Gibson, who is, of course, noted professor of law at the Carey School of Law, University of Maryland. He is the one that actually curated all of the exhibits in the building for us. And if you've been around Professor Gibson, you know that when you present an idea in front of him, you have to kind of get back and let him do with this idea what only Professor Gibson can do with it. And so he describes Thurgood Marshall Hall as a museum that is masquerading as a residential hall. and I can't disagree with him. I went and had a tour of the building. And I tell you, my team, they had to almost put me out of the building because I was just so fascinated with the way the history of Thurgood Marshall is portrayed in the building on the one hand, and then the incredible relaxing vistas on the other, because it is a 10-story building. And on each of those floors, you know, we have floor to ceiling windows where students can look out for miles.
When you talk to all those new students, their parents, particularly people coming from far away to attend Morgan, what are you hearing from them? I mean, there's enthusiasm among new students, of course. What is drawing them to an HBCU and your HBCU in particular?
There are numerous reasons now why Morgan is right there amongst the top 2 or 3 HBCUs in the country in terms of where students are interested in going post-high school. Number one is that they want to go to an institution where academically they're going to get an experience that will enable them to be fully prepared for what's next, to be fully prepared for the work of the future and the future of work. And they look at Morgan and they see where we have gone through curricular realignment here. We are, in many instances, the only institution in the state of Maryland, one of the only universities in the country to be offering certain types of degrees a BS degree in mechatronics engineering, a BS degree in coastal science and policy, a BS degree in cloud computing and advanced computing, and in all of these, in social justice. And so they see that it's very, very attractive on the one hand. Second, students do their homework on who is going to be teaching them. And they see at Morgan that we have, I argue, amongst the most diverse faculties in higher education in the country. About 42% of our faculty is African-American, about 20% white, 10% international. And so we have perspectives on our faculty from literally all over the world, and the students appreciate that. Number three, they want to be in a place where they never have to question any day whether they belong on that campus. And we like to say to our students, Morgan is your home. It's not an apartment where you rent it for a while. It's your home. And as a result of that, that's the way students want to be treated.
Dr. Wilson, Morgan's been your home for 12 years now as president of the institution. It looks a whole lot different than it did when you arrived. Give us just a couple of thoughts on the future of Morgan.
The future of Morgan is quite promising, if you will. I have been here over 12 years, and when I arrived, just research-wise, Morgan was a moderate research institution. And our desire when I came in was to move to the next floor of the research house, which was a high research institution. And so Jeff, we achieved that in 2018. We also looked at how our students were performing in terms of graduation rates and retention rates and internships. And we wanted to improve that drastically. And we have, and as a result, we have won 3 national awards in terms of institutional outcomes. For the next 10 years, we have put together a very thoughtful, shared vision for the institution called Transformation Morgan 2030, Leading the Future. And there we are aiming to be the first, if not amongst the first HBCUs in the country to go from high research university to very high research university.